Listen, I've been called out on podcasts about basically talking shit about not kicking clutches. I like a little bit of controversy, you know?
I don't care if you don't kick the clutch or
This is great. Listen, I'll be 210 slower kicking the clutch. It's just more fun to me that way.
That's a good time to ask you about the device that we know that we've been wanting to talk about.
And I'll use this to explain some stuff so y'all can see as well.
The whiteboard tonight.
When you dump it, you get your base pressure first, and then the rest of it's going to be slip on the pedal. And then once that's done, you can free kick the rest of them. Y'all want to kick off with a purge? Restart back. All right, one for the boys. Let's go! Love that stuff.
You know we talk that stick talk, I'm about to fuck this cash up.
We'll get started.
Yeah,
So
we start off with a purge.
Right? You guys, you boys good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well,
We start off with a purge right now.
Let's do it. All right, Stick Talk, episode number 5. We are back with J Mac from KillShot Racing.
What up, fellas?
Make sure you keep your hands up today. No funny business. We don't want Mr. Flores getting upset with your hand gestures. So keep them up so we can keep an eye on what you're doing there, Jay.
You got a lot of
no
incidents.
No funny business tonight, Jay. No funny business tonight.
I'm on it.
Yeah, super excited tonight to have Mr. Garrett Leach from Second Shift Racing on the show. So big stick shift guy. In my opinion, a very big stick shift guy, known very well around North America, I'd say. Thanks for being on the show,
man. I'm glad to be here, man. It's cold as balls out, so I mean it's about 600 psi temperature. So I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say cold.
No, I'm in South Alabama. If I go about 20 minutes south, I'll be on the. I'm like right in the corner of it. So I go 20 minutes. To the east, and I hit Georgia. I go 20 minutes south. I hit Florida. So,
oh shit, okay. I always thought you were from Florida, but yeah, you're right there.
Might as well be. Right? We're all just kind of in a little menagerie down here. So, yeah, still tri-state area.
right on. So actually, after the last show we did last weekend, I seen some stuff come out online, specifically from Tony from AV Boys and Miss Midnight Maverick. Posting some stuff with their Fox body there, and it looks like they're running a new product that you're about to introduce to the market that you've been working on for a while. So I know a lot of people. There's been a lot of kind of talk on that, and I've seen a lot of stuff online in the past week. So as soon as we seen that come up, I said to Jay, I said we got to get Garrett on. We got to get Garrett on. We got to get Garrett to tell his story and talk about that new product, because I know you did share some information with me on it. Probably, I don't know, it was back in the summer. I think we were shooting the shit a bit, but I think we'll edge everyone on a little bit and maybe get to that in a bit. But first things first, I kind of wanted to just get your history with stick shift racing and racing in general. I know I've been following you now for probably 3-4 years. So I think let's just get started. How did you get into racing and stick shift racing?
Believe it or not, so my dad was always into cars, but we never had a car at the house. So some kids growing up, they'll have their dad's got a race car in the shop. So my dad didn't have that. He had the first car I remember he had was actually a truck, and it was a Dakota RT truck. And I remember being young and going in the back room, and there'd be a camshaft sitting on the freezer, and my dad would say it was a bump stick, And so me being young, I didn't know anything about cars. And then, going through the years, I always kind of liked cars, but it wasn't an interest of mine. So, been to a track a few times in my early years. And I remember the first official big event that I went to, and it was a Ford Nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. It was Commerce back when it was around.
All right, we'll get back into it. J Mac with his poverty mic over there. We got him all set up.
It's all good.
We need a damn sponsor. We need a sponsor to get you, so we can get you a mic, and so we can get you good internet. So if anyone's interested in sponsoring the Stick Talk podcast, the funds will go to upgrading J Mac's mic. And
I really need it. It's bad.
That'll work. Y'all want to kick off with a purge? Restart back. So.
Yeah, restart with a purge.
One for the boys. Let's go. Let's go. I like it.
There we go.
I love that stuff.
Hell yeah.
It's like magic.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But all right, so the first event I actually went to that was kind of big was Ford Nationals. It was actually up in Commerce, Georgia, back when that track was around. Never seen so many Mustangs in my life. And I probably was 15 years old at the time when I went to that. I could be off a few years on that, but actually I was never really into cars as far as like a primary interest. You know, I just didn't have a hobby at the time. And I had just started a job. It was an 18-year-old kid, just started a job, and there was another guy that worked there named Daniel. And Daniel would always talk about how much he liked his 96 GT, and you know, but due to an unfortunate event that it actually caught fire and burned up and all that kind of stuff. So it was like a wiring issue on a 96 GT. So, but he always told me, you know, how much he liked the car, you know, what exhaust that he had on it, little mods, little bolt-on stuff here and there where he drove it. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, he showed me pictures of it. And then on our break time, he would show me videos of Mustangs that he liked on YouTube and things like that. And he said his dream car was a Cobra. Anyways, more specifically a 0304 Terminator. And I thought, man, that's a cool car. And he said his favorite blower was a Kenny Bell. He loved how it whined. And then I go home and I just started looking up all this stuff on YouTube. And I was like, wow, I said, this thing's really a badass car. I was like, I've never seen one of these things before. And this is like around this is like 09, 2010. And so I started looking at, you know, YouTube videos of Terminators and stuff, and then I got interested. You know, I was like, hey, man, check out this video I found last night. And then me and him were just kind of spazzing out over this. Well, fast forward, you know, I think I'm 21 years old, and I'm still at this job, but he had actually left this job to go to an oil rig, and I hadn't seen him since. So I went from that job. Shortly after him, I went from that job to being just a FedEx driver. And I was just like, man, I got to figure out how to afford this car. And I got to be a FedEx driver. I was making a little bit more money, and I was just trying to stack my cash away. And so I ended up looking at some options as far as like how to attain one, started talking to some people. And I said, okay, this is the car I want. And so I went ahead and talked to my buddy, who's now my best friend now. His name is Heath, who actually worked as a FedEx contractor there. Me and him, I found out he was interested in cars. And then me and him started kind of talking and getting to know each other. And I remember being in the parking lot, and he had a Fox body that he had pulled in on a trailer that he went to South Georgia Motorsports Park. And it was like a little 347 stroker car. And I had never ridden in a Mustang. I have been spazzing over Mustangs forever. I have never ridden in one over the past 4 years that I've been spazzing over one. And so one day he had drove it into the parking lot, and I said, hey, man, I said, you mind taking me for a ride down the road? I said, I've never ridden in a Mustang. He said, yeah, sure. So got in it was a silver notch, a 5-speed. It was a little home-built 347. Actually, it was I think it was like a TKO 500 or TKO 600 at the time. And he took me down the road, and it was sitting on radials too. Like he had just come back from the track. And so, and it made maybe 380 to the tire, all motor. But, you know, the setup he had on it, it was going to hook it all on the street. So he went ahead, went up the road, spun around, come back, and he stabbed it, and my face was just like this. So I was like, holy crap. I said, this is the fastest thing I've ever ridden in. And so he went down the road with me in it, and came back, did another pull, and I said, that's it. I got to have something. I got to have something fast. I said, this is ridiculous. I said, I never knew this kind of stuff was out there. And so pulled in the parking lot, and I was like, man, I appreciate the ride and all that, you know, and me and him start talking a little bit more, and we became friends, you know. We were coworkers, but we were friends at the same time. So started looking online, and I said, I'm going to own this car, but I'm only going to own it in one color. I want it in Sonic Blue. It's my favorite color. It was the most pretty color to me. I know everybody likes to spaz out over like Mr. Chrome and stuff, but I was like, that's the one I have. And I love like Mr. Chrome Cobras, but I mean, one of my good friends, Marty's, has one, and I think it's the most beautiful machine out there, but I had to have one in blue. So I started looking on Marketplace and, you know, and Craigslist, back when Craigslist was a thing. And so So I started looking on Craigslist to find one, and I would skip around. I was like, I'll go 8 hours to go find one if I need to. And so I found one, went to, I was like, cool. Went to took out a small loan because, I'm still a broke guy at the time. I was like, I can put up this amount, but, I need the rest finance. And this is back when these cars, you could pick them up for about 15, 16, 17 grand. So can't really touch them right now because, they pretty much go for what the price is new. Can you hear me now?
This is going to be heavily edited.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I don't know.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. What was the last thing you heard? Apparently,
We're having all kinds of troubles tonight. The last we heard, I guess we can go back to, I think you were searching
so
Craigslist.
I started searching Craigslist
Marketplace
and
whatnot,
anyways, I found one for like 15 grand. I said, all right, cool. So I ended up going to the bank, getting a check. Anyways, I said, I'll beat you on Saturday. Well, Friday night comes around, guy sold the car out from under me, basically. I was like, so here you go, here's the check back. And so went around searching. About another week later, found another one. Went to go get a check for that. Anyways, sold, guy wouldn't hold it, sold it out from under me again. I was like, good Lord. I was like, can I not find one, I can get my hands on? So we're on car number 3, okay? They're all blue. So, and car number 3 was in Louisiana. So, and it was beautiful, but it was a little bit more. It was like 18 grand. And so I talked the guy down to like 17. So I was just trying to come up with extra cash flow, and I just couldn't figure out an option. So I talked him down to 17. So whenever I got him down to 17, I said, all right, I'm gonna come look at it and whatnot, and we'll go there, and then we'll make a deal from there. Went over there and started talking to him. The car was beautiful, had 38,000 miles on it. And he was telling, we went for a test drive, and the car was overheating. And it was just pegged the dash, and, we pulled into like a little Popeye's chicken that was sitting around the corner, and we started getting out talking. And he just said, he said, I just had a bunch of motor work done and stuff like that. I was like, well, what motor work? He said, my son blew up the last motor, and we had to put a long block back in. I was like, well, now I need paperwork to prove that this is what it is. I said, you can just throw a Mach 1 motor back in there and, it'd be done. I said, so I need some paperwork on this. So I literally drove all the way out to Louisiana, and they had like 5 or 6 hours, and came back with no car, basically. So I got bummed. I went through 2 more cars. I went through 1 more car, and it was in South North Carolina. It was in North Carolina.
I think that was probably every blue one that was available.
Went over there, talked to the dude. It was like 16 grand, and started talking to him about it. And I could tell by the pictures it wasn't the nicest one. Like, it had a mismatched fender, like it was a shade off on the blue. The back bumper didn't have a clear coat on it, things like that. Little odds and ends. I mean, it's an old car. They're going to have things wrong with them. So I started talking to him, and we were trying to strike a deal, but he had no title to the car. He had bought it from a guy who bought it from another guy without a title. So he had to go through the DMV and, over a course of a month trying to find a title for it. I said, this car's a loss. I said, I'm up to, 4 cars now, and I don't have one. I went to a 5th car. That one was a loss. And I just started giving up hope. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not getting it. And I kind of just sat back for a little bit and just, kind of licked my wounds. Like, I'm not going to I'm not going to have a fast street car. So it's just not meant to be. And so I started getting down on my luck, and the guy with the lost title hits me back like a month later. He said, hey, I got the title. I was like, sweet. I said, all right, problem is, I can't bring your check to you. I said, you have to come over here and come to my bank. I said, that's the only way they're going to let me have another check to go back out again. He's like, well, can you give me cash? I said, yeah, at my bank. So I was at work. I remember I was sick as a dog because I had the flu. I was at work. It was peak season, like Christmas time for a FedEx guy. So there was no getting off work to go buy a car. And so the only person I knew that could make a deal for me was my buddy Heath, who worked in the terminal with me. And I said, and Heath knows cars. I said, dude, listen, I need you to go with my dad, go to the bank, go find this guy. I said, I need you to test drive the car, look it over. I said, you know what you're looking at. I said, just go do it. So I'm on the phone, like, delivering packages, like, handing, like, please sign here, here, here. Anyways, and handing people boxes, but I'm, like, trying to, like, close the deal on the phone at the same time. And I'm like, all right, look under it. Like, what does it look like? This and that. All right, sign here, ma'am. You know, just like, I'm trying to multitask here, trying to get this car, because my mind's not on work now. My mind is on the car. And so he goes out, drives the car, everything checks out, they get him cash. He goes up to Ohio or somewhere to go buy a truck that he wanted. I have a car. And I remember getting home, or getting off of work, and I drove all the way to Heath's house, and I remember the first look of coming down the street and seeing it sitting in the driveway. It's like the best feeling in the world to have your first fast car like that. I'm sure everybody's had some sort of experience, but like when you come down the driveway or you see it come down the road for the first time, it's just magical. I mean, I loved every minute of it. So I ended up
especially
getting that
a Terminator.
and everybody kept telling me, it says, if you've never driven a fast car, which it wasn't, it was just a top pulley car at the time. I mean, it was quick for what it was, but I mean, by today's standards, it's not. But they said, this car will kill you, respect it. I said, okay. So it kind of made me nervous to drive it, like, you know, at first. So I let my buddy Heath drive it. I said, all right, go take me for a ride. And so he took me for a ride. We swapped seats, and then I drove it. I said, okay, I got this. I can handle this. So, well, took the car, cleaned it up. I did all. I mean, it was slow enough to where you could get away with street racing and get a speeding ticket. So, like, it was fun for what it was. It got down as far as, like, just having fun, you know, poking at this car, you know, just a random stranger on the highway. But when we got I went to a car show with it one day, and it ended up walking around the pits, and I ran into Daniel, the guy that I originally started getting interested in cars with from back when I was like 18. I think I'm like, oh crap, I think I was like 20, I think it was like 24. I've owned the car for 2 years. So, and it's been like 4 years since I've seen him. Well, I ran into Daniel, the original guy that I worked the job with, that we YouTubed with, and he said, I started talking to him, catching up, and he said, is this your car? I was like, yeah. I said, this is my car. I said, I ended up buying the dream car. He said, dude, he said, that's awesome. He said, I bought a red one. It's sitting over there. And so we had two minimum wage kids that went their separate ways, and the next time they meet up, they both got the same car. One's red, one's blue. So I thought it was just a
both
really
Terminators.
Cool way to like meet back up again. So, but I didn't get serious with the car until the past couple years, really. I ended up, so it was still top pulley, exhaust. I said I didn't want to modify it, you know, while I was still paying on it. I didn't want to modify it and like sink all this money in case something happened. Just trying to be responsible with it. I got it paid off. I drove it around, just had a little bit of fun. I drove it everywhere. I think my first month, I put like 3,000 miles on it in my first month owning it. Like, I drove it everywhere. So there was even a point where I dailied it for a whole year. So once I got it, driving it around on the street, I started fixing stuff up, you know, fixed the paint on the front that was mismatched, so on and so forth. And, you know, I fixed a bunch of exhaust leaks that I had. It was straight piped when I had it. It was god-awful sound. Do not recommend it. So I know somebody has done it, but I wanted a nice sounding street Mustang. That's pretty much it. I was not great at stick shift racing or stick shift period. Like, I knew how to drive stick shift, but when I started watching guys on like YouTube, like, you know, do a quarter-mile pass and stick shift, and they were just banging gears like there wasn't anything there, I was like, okay, I want to do that. I want to be that guy. And so I go out in the street. It'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's around. I'd go scope out the area, make sure there wasn't no cops or nothing in the median, and I would just make pass after pass after pass. I was just melting this motor down. So it was just heat soaking, and you could feel it get slower and slower with each pass. I would go make like a 150 pull, and then I drive it and make another 150 pull. And it was 11 pounds of, it was a stop pulley, unported, 11 pounds. It ended up making probably like maybe like 410, 420 the tire if I had to guess. So fast forward 2 years, I ended up wanting to get into racing a little bit more. So my buddies Heath and Zach, they started helping me. First official race I was going to go to was going to be ModNats 2022. It was when it was in South Georgia Motorsports Park. So I was like, you know what? It's just top pulley. I said, I'm just going to stick a set of tires on it and just go have fun. Because I had broke a half shaft at the local track, putting a set of low profile radials on it. Dumb mistake. I didn't know at the time. Ended up taking the IRS out. Sold it to a buddy that's local here. He's going to throw it in a Fox. And then I got an 8.8 and was going to put all the good stuff in it. I wanted reliability. I want to be able to dump the clutch and let it go. That's all I wanted. So I ended up doing like an 8.8, true track, some Motor 31 spline, just a nice little budget build. I was going to go to ModNats and just run like, high 11s, like a low 12, just have some fun. Well, buddy Zach and Heath, they said, I got off work one day and went to go wrench on the car, and they said, hey, we got an idea, and you can't say no. I said, okay. He said, we're going to put a nitrous kit on this car. I was like, okay, well, I've kind of been against it for years, not because I don't like nitrous, because I just like, the factor that you got boost all the time when you want it, and nitrous you got to refill and all that kind of stuff. But they said, okay, well, we're going to a race, and between us, we've got enough spare parts to kind of rig a kit together. But we need you to buy a couple things. And it was like a solenoid and a couple relays. That was it. So they rig up this little bracket, like washers welded together, like bolts and stuff to hold nitrous solenoids. It was just the most ghetto thing you've ever seen. And so they said, okay, now we need a fuel system. They said, I need you to buy one fuel pump. So I ended up buying like a single 525, and we put it in a stock hat. We went and tapped the tank, and then ran a lot, we had some spare 6AN, lying around for a return. And we bought I bought like a 20-foot roll of, I think it's Dash 8. That's like some Dash 8 lines. So basically we're running off the stock fuel rail. It was just going to be a wet kit going through the elbow. So, got it. We went there, and we went to the track, the local track here, probably like a week before the race, and just to test it out. And they weren't handing out time slips that night because the system was down, but we had a draggy, and it ran like I think it ran like a 670, on like a 100 shot. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. I said, all right, I kind of see the point in running nitrous now. So we went to ModNats. We threw I'm trying to remember the jetting that we had. So basically we threw like a 100 shot on it, and then we ended up changing the spark plug. So we went to a BR7 plug. So I didn't have my tuner with me. This is back when it was on SCT. So whatever tune was in the car when I bought it, that was still in it. So now this tune's like, 10 years old, and I have no idea. We've not read it at all. So we were just going to tune it old school with a wet kit and just change the fuel jetting on it. So went out there, made a pass, and it ran like 1038. I was like, holy crap. I said, that was fast. Went out and started looking, got my time slip, and it cut I think it was like a 145 60 foot. I said, wow, we really got this thing dialed in. So, and before then, I ended up buying a Magnum, so I will get to that in a minute. So I got a Magnum in it, and it's just so buttery smooth when I got it. Compared to the old T56 that was in the car, it was buttery smooth. So went out there, ran 1038. Went back around, 1038. And then we did another pass, and it was like 1034. And Zach was sitting there talking to me. He said, I think we could get a 9 out of this. He said, we got to leave harder on it. He said, but I think we can get a 9 out of it. So we ended up changing a couple things. We changed the two-step. It was just like clip-on, MSD two-step, with the little dials and stuff like that. I didn't have Holly or none of the fancy stuff. So I had no way to change the tune. All we can do is change mechanical things and those dials, and that was it. So he says, hey, I need you to go down to the parts house and get a set of BR8 plugs. So ended up getting some BR8 plugs, to compensate for the more nitrous that we're about to throw at it. So, and I think at the time it had like maybe 21, 22 degrees of timing. So like we're adding nitrous, but we can't really take away timing because we don't have a tuner to do it for us. So we're just going to throw a colder plug in it. So go out there, throw some plugs in it. We turn the two-step up, and I'm on eliminations first round. And I got my buddy Nick Shortridge, twin turbo Cobra. So I think we left at like 4,000, 4,200, and it was like a 140 shot that we threw in it, and it left. It cut it pulled the tires. It cut a 134, and then it went a 999 at 140 mile an hour. It was just a top pulley, unported blower, just some good suspension underneath it, a good clutch, and just the rest of it was just all driver. So I was probably one of the most proudest moments of my life was getting a first 9-second pass. I was so thrilled. So after that, it's just going to races. The nitrous system has been upgraded. I've got spray bars now. I have ported that blower myself. It's got a Dragon plenum and throttle body on it. I did a little bit of porting on the intake, just kind of smoothing things out. It's not really ported, it's just kind of honed. We'll just say that. So, but it's got 2 stages on it now. So one on the launch, and then the other one we feather in, at a set time delay, whenever we want it. It is still the stock motor in this car. This motor has never been opened. It is still stock. It has got 140,000 miles on it. So that's the funny thing is that before I went to Monats, I did a compression test on it, and I had 2 cylinders that were down. Like the rest of them were like 150, 160, and then those there were 2 that were down at like 124, like 139. And so I said, screw it. If it lets go, let's go. Well, a couple years later, after spraying it so many times, I did another compression check, and all my cylinders were up to like 180s, and my 2 low cylinders, one was so the 129 went to like 150, and then the 134 cylinder went to like 175. So I guess it just, a lot of heat, swelled up the rings. So, I mean, it worked out pretty good. So, but I mean, I've been stick shift racing this car for probably actively a couple years, actively stick shift racing it. So I think it's worked out so far. Kind of proud of the combo a little bit. I think I was probably born about 10 years too late, 10 years too late, because now I'm starting to watch all these guys that did all this stuff, with blowers and nitrous back in the day. And I kind of wish I was back there with them when they did all that kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of reliving it through them a little bit. So It's been a solid car so far.
So I think we're going to restart from the top. That's what Chris was saying.
No, start from
No, I'm kidding.
Jeez.
Yeah, so this car, I've only been actively racing for about 2 years. So, maybe 3. But, it's just local testing 2 nights at the track.
Yep.
And that I was doing before since I've owned it. I've always knew how to drive stick shift since I was a teen, but as far as like going out and racing and banging gears, like I never did any of that. So it was just, driving Miss Daisy, on the street. That was about it.
That's crazy. And it's still that stock motor hasn't been touched.
That has not been touched. It's 140,000 miles. I've had the only time I've ever had the valve covers off of it was I took the right side off just out of curiosity to see what it looked like. And the second time I broke a crank sensor off at Monats year before last. And anyways, I broke a crank sensor off. No, actually it was last year. And it fell down in the timing chain. And so I had to pull the left valve cover to go scoop it out. And the magnet is still that the cam sensor had is still sitting in the bottom of the pan. And it's been for several 9-second passes. So
yeah, because you've run what's a personal best now, like a 930 something, isn't it? Or
931 at 149 mile an hour.
Yeah. That's pretty badass. Like when it comes to stock motor Cobras, is there a record for that?
Yeah, there's 2 records. There's 2 micro records for like completely untouched motors. One's a twin turbo car, went 886, and my buddy Zach has the one for 888 for the blowers combo.
Okay.
So I don't know what. I mean, this is so as far as the Cobras are concerned. The only micro record I'm chasing is for the Eaton, the fastest Eaton car.
Sure, because it's got the factory blower on it.
Yep. So, and boost only was actually set by an auto car, and it went like 981 boost only. And nitrous, it was 928, and I almost got it on one pass, but I ended up what happened on that pass? So I went to go do the pass. Oh, I know what I did. I forgot to turn the intercooler pump on. I was on a good pass. The car went 5s to the 8, and I was on a good pass, and I ended up not forgetting to turn the intercooler pump on, and it just pulled all the timing. It was like -5 by the time I got the trap. It was like 204 degrees downstreams. I mean, I was melting that motor. So, and that was at FL2K.
You're right there.
Yeah, I was at, because it went 9. Funny part is, it went 935 with the intercooler pump on, and then we added some hot shit to the tune, and then went out and made another pass. I forgot to turn the intercooler pump on before I got in the burnout box, and I basically made a full pull with no intercooler pump. It had 204 on the downstreams, and it went a 936 at like 140, so it sucked 9 mile an hour out of it from the 149 pass that it was before. So that would have been the pass to get the overall fastest Eaton car, but it just didn't happen, man. So.
And then since then, you've had some issues with the blower, right? Did it get locked up or?
Yeah, it actually got locked up. So the blowers, I took it apart, and you won't believe what caused it. It was actually so whenever I do a no lift, there's always like a little remnants of backfire that comes through the blower, or at least back through the manifold. So because I started realizing it whenever I did after I made a pass, I had a plug that was in the intake, and it would always be pushed out. So that means like even when it was just an open element with a bell mouth on it, it would still push that plug out on the intake. So I knew that it was backfiring back through the intake on the no lifts, and also out the back. And whenever I did that, whenever I started going out and making pulls on the street, I was like, man, this thing feels sluggish. And what it was is the blower slowly eating itself, locking it up. And it was because there's a vacuum line that references the bypass. So whenever I'm boost, it shuts it. Whenever I'm just cruising, it flips it open and lets it recirculate and doesn't create heat. Well, that line got melted on the end from all the backfires that were happening on it. And so I was just driving around. It was just getting hot. The rotor swell contacted the case, and that's all she wrote. But it can be salvaged and cleaned up. I just got to get in there with a little roll-out disc and some other stuff to try to clean it up on the surfacing. I'm going to put a new set of bearings in, and that blower's going to go back out in about 3 weeks down in South Georgia.
Okay. So will you be down any boost with that after you clean that up? Because no, it'll still be good, yeah?
Nope. It was just a little bit of aluminum on the back facing of the rotor. So not the rotor itself, but just the back facing of it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to clean it up and let it ride. And so when I took it apart and put it back together, it freely turned then. So, I mean, I didn't clean it up or nothing. I took it apart, just kind of freed it up, looked at it, slide it back together, for here, and it still turns. So.
Perfect.
Quick remedy.
Oh, yeah.
It's always the best.
But
so you can still keep swinging at that record.
I'm going to see how far we can. Everybody wants me to go to an aftermarket blower and spray one of those, and I am totally not against that, but I really want to see how far I can get an Eaton car.
So you said the record was what again?
928. It was set by an auto car.
And you went at 935?
931 this past Modnats. Yeah, this past Modnats I went 931.
Okay. Chris, you want to put bets on this? I say Garrett's going to go with 9-1. I got faith.
No, we going 8s, dog. We going 8s.
We going 8s.
We going 8s, dog.
Hey, that's what I like to hear.
And it's not even ported, is it? Is it ported or anything, or is it?
Yeah. So I actually ported it. I ported it myself. I ported it myself, and it ended up. I started looking. I was, you on the marketplace and whatnot. They had ported blowers for like $800,000. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can find one for like 600, but they were always gone. Anytime I got to one, and I said, you know what? I said I pretty much touched every piece on this car, with the help of my friends, and I kind of like you to keep it that way. If we're gonna go fast, I want it to be our hands that do it. So I sit there and looked at pictures of SVT performance, from way back in the day, pictures of blowers that were ported. From the Posi Porsche to the Jokers and, some 1320 Junkie, things like that. And I was like, okay, I kind of got an idea of like what needs to happen. So I just went in there and, with a burr bit from Summit and started doing it myself with a little Harbor Freight die grinder.
Hell yeah.
So when I went at it for about 15 hours, I get off work, I come, zinged on it for about 3 hours after work. It was cold, like in January. And so I was just sitting there freezing in the shop, just with a little burr bit, just going at it. And so ended up getting it done. I found a Dragon Plenum. The guy sold me a Dragon Plenum with a throttle body, and it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. But everybody said that if you're swinging for max effort, that's the one to get. So it's 130 millimeters wide on an Eaton.
Got that girth.
Damn.
Yeah. So it was pretty dope.
It's badass. It's cool that you guys do everything, like you're saying, you guys hands on it, you're doing it at home. I've said it to Bondo, I've said it to Phil, that's kind of my thing. I work the same way, right? Like try to find whatever deals I can find in a marketplace, make stuff work, try to innovate with what we have, and, whatever we can do at home and not have to rely on the shop or, a third party, it's the best way to do it. And, honestly, you carry more pride, especially when you going for a record. When you get that record, which I know you will, it's going to feel good, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, all the time, man. It was just the only things I did, like I tried to budget this car as friendly as possible. So if you don't know, or if your audience doesn't know, we nicknamed it the Poverty Cobra, okay? Everybody was out there swinging with these Whipples and these twin turbos and these Coyote cars, and I was out here trying to swing with a stock motor Eaton on some juice. So I was like, I had the poor man's build. So when I got it, once we established the name, I was like, you know what? We're going to see how much we can budget this car. Like the battery is, I don't have what's some batteries? Oh, anti-gravity. I don't have like an anti-gravity battery in the back. I got like a $54 Amazon special that cranks the car. Stock motor. I mean, I had used clutches. Like the clutch I originally went 9s with, it was in my buddy Zach's car for about two or 3 years before that, and that clutch went 8s, and he's like, oh, you don't make as much power. Here you go. Here's my hand-me-downs. So he gave me a clutch, and so I threw it in there. It was a RXT 1200. It's probably one of my more favorite clutches. That's not what's in this one now. What's in this one now is pretty radical, and I was testing it out with a slipper device. I mean, it's just
in there now.
So what's in it now, I actually got from my buddy Dan Watts over in Ohio. He was running a Mantic for the longest time, and I think Mantic was sponsoring him for a while on a clutch. And it's a kind of a one-off. It's the standard Mantic housing, but it's got twin 8-inch centered iron disc. So it is pretty much on-off. Like there is no in between. And so like it's a quarter, it's a rough clutch, but Dan makes like 1,100 horse. So, and he beat the snot out of it for probably about 2 years, and it still held. It still went out there and ran an 8 for him. So I was like, you know what? I said, I started talking to him about clutches. I said, hey, I got to get a clutch, before this event. He's like, hey, he said, how about you try out my Mantic? He said, I got an RXT in my car right now. Because at the time he had swapped over to McLeod clutch, and so he's like, I got this Mantic. He said, try it out. So he lent me that clutch. It took a lot of patience, a lot of dialing in, trying to figure it out. We tried shimming it to take some of the bass pressure out of it, and then I ended up just taking the shims out, and then I say, if I'm going to make this clutch work, I'm going to make it, work in its natural form. So I put all the clamp pressure back in, and I was going to try to slip it over time with a device. So
that's a good time to ask you about the device that we know that we've been wanting to talk about.
Yeah, I guess we can roll it in now. Give the people what they're waiting for.
Oh God! So yeah, all the technical difficulties and whatnot. I mean, it's just been now we get to the good stuff. All right.
Yeah. We've heard them enough. So let's let's give them
all
the
right.
good. Put your hands up, Jay. No funny business.
So, and I'll use this to explain some stuff so y'all can see as well.
The whiteboard tonight.
Yeah, because if I try to explain it, they're like, yeah, I think I understand, but then when I draw it on the board, they're like, oh, I get it now. So y'all are lucky because I did not. So there's actually not one in the. So there's actually not one in the car right now, and after I got off work, I said I don't have another one on hand. So I literally went digging through boxes, and I found old brackets that I didn't use, and just basically pieced one together for you guys. So I ended up getting this. So the story about this deal is we originally, so the original clutch tamer, or actually the only clutch tamer. So full disclosure, the clutch tamer is actually a brand by, I think, Granny Speed Shop. So this is not a clutch tamer for all legal purposes. So if I slip up, forgive me. Okay. So, but everybody knows what you're talking about when you talk about it. So I just let people call it what it is. So I actually do not have a name for it yet. Heath would not let me call it the third leg. So, anyways, so Zach and I, we worked on this idea together. So Zach had it was kind of a think tank between me and him. And he says, because originally what we had the original clutch tamer by Granny Speed Shop. And which is basically a shock. It's actually inverted compared to this one. And it had some basic bracketry, and you had to figure out how to make it fit. It was universal.
Okay.
So it wasn't designed for a specific vehicle. You just had here's a handful of brackets, figure out what you can make work in your application. Mm. So we used it, and we didn't like the fact that it slipped every gear, the way it was designed. We said it'd be cool if we could get it to deactivate. So Zach and I was like, man, we can make something like this work. I said, maybe we make this one deactivated. So we took the knee panel off of our cars, and my buddy Heath, he took some pencil rod and made a little channel and a drop bracket. So whenever you dump the clutch, the tamer would drop, it would hit the back wall, it would drop into a drop bracket and slide on some rails that we had welded in there. It was clangy, it was noisy, but it worked. So we cut a 125 on it. So it worked out really, really well. So once we got it to deactivate after the launch or on the second gear, we picked up like 4 mile an hour and like I think like 1.5, 2/10. So because every time you shift the gear, it was wow, like it was slipping the clutch bad. Yeah. So we sat down. He kind of had a rough idea in his head. He ordered some stuff off of Amazon, and we came up with the concept. So Zach had the brains, I had the fab, and we went from there. So over time, Zach ended up going to a slipper style clutch, and didn't have too much interest in it anymore because the original plan was we was going to make something for people to go out there and use, but he was in the middle of trying to put together a car, with a different combo, a house, and whatnot, and he just had a lot of things going, so he just didn't have time for it. So now I got the reins, and I said this is too good of an idea to let go, so I'm gonna keep on it. Now this is like 2 years ago, so this has been about 2 years in the making. So essentially what we got now is this. It free glides. It's still a hydraulic shock. You can control your speed with it. I don't have the sandwich bracket with me. I think it's in the car out there, but there's a sandwich bracket that goes around your pedal with bolts. and it clamps your pedal. So, and you can take it and move it up or down to adjust your slipper device. So if you know how slipper clutches work, you got base screws that add base pressure, okay, and then you got weights. So as RPM rises, it clamps the load. Well, how do you make a diaphragm clutch do it? It's got load all the time. It's either 0 or all. There is no in between with RPM. So whereas slipper clutches slip a clutch due to RPM, this one slips it based on time. So, which means that you could set it at a slip rate, you know, and so over, let's say 1 second, I slip the clutch this much. You know, I go from 0, or I go from base pressure to full lock up in this amount of time.
Like a
so I don't have to roll
kind of.
Pretty much. So that's pretty much how it is. So basically what we got here is a 3D printing rail, a little linear rail. That's basically all it is. Little solenoid, got a little knob on the back with a locking nut. This bracket right here, I designed this bracket. I don't know if you can see that. I need to come in closer.
Yeah.
So I got that bracket. So, and this is specific for 94 through 04, that particular bracket. So that means that if you get one of these, I have designed this to fit in that car direct bolted. You don't have to figure nothing out. I've done it all for you. So the way it works is, scoot closer. So the way it works is, so when you got in the car, okay, it's mounted up like this, okay? When you push the clutch pedal down, this shock on this sled ends up moving, and it glides with the pedal. So you can drive it on the street, not recommended for legal purposes, but you can drive it on the street. And this part right here, so there's actually a bolt hole that's actually in, a factory bolt hole that's actually in these cars, and you can actually slide this bolt right here through that location, and that's how you connect your pedal to it. So once you connect the pedal, it glides. So I'm gonna try to do this reverse camera. So hang on a second. So over here you got a pin, okay? So when in there, you got a momentary switch that you rig up on a button, okay? Push the button. What it does, it activates that pin, okay? That pin is now in the way of the track. See, now I can't pull the shock past it, okay? So what does that do? When you push the button and hold the pin, it holds the shock in place, and I can extend this out like so. See, I'm holding the back of this right now, and I can pull it out, okay? So whenever you're sitting in the lanes, whenever you're sitting on the line, so it ends up holding this, you pull it out, you extend it, and when then you go to dump the clutch, if I can try to replicate it here. So when you go to dump the clutch, that pin resets. It's got a spring on the back, it pulls it out of the way. So, and now this will free glide. So now it's deactivated. So push the button, pin, okay, and you push the clutch down, and it extends this out, okay? I'm gonna have to extend this a little bit. Oh, I'm way better at talking in person than trying to show people online.
That's all right.
All right, so I'm gonna extend this out really slow, like so. All right, so when you go to extend the shock out and you go to dump it, okay, now this shock is longer, okay, than what it originally is. So that means in the state of rest, this sled wants to go past the point where it originally was, correct?
Yep.
So that's what this is for, okay? This is a backstop. All it is a threaded rod with a locking nut on it. So whenever I go to dump the clutch, it slams into this, okay? We've hit the backstop. So what's next? This part. Now the pedal is starting to slip via the shock. I shouldn't have turned it so many times. But once it hits the backstop, right here, this ends up sliding the pedal, okay? So now that has completed the slip operation, you can free kick the rest of the gears because there's no more pin in the way.
So no slip on the shifts like you were experiencing with the other one you were running.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can slow this down a little bit. Oop.
So you were talking about a sandwich plate too. So like with the application for your car, and that's I guess S95 or New Edge, it would be you need that sandwich plate still, or is it for that application you don't?
So on 94 through 04, all the pedals are the same. It has a factory hole where it's supposed to be. That's where that bolt's going to come through. So I don't need a sandwich plate for it. The only thing that I will say about these cars that I can do with the other cars that I can't do with this one is that this sled has to be within a certain area, or the sled has to be within a certain area of the pin. So you kind of want it right there so the pin can go. But some applications, the way they line up is that sled will end up being in the way and you can't activate it. So what do? You take the sandwich bracket, you move it up or down the pedal, and so what that does is that moves it on the rail in the correct position that you need it in. So, but basically this is operating the same principle as a slipper clutch, just based on time. So, like I said, when you dump it, you get your base pressure first, which is a set pressure, and then the rest of it's going to be slip on the pedal. And then once that's done, you can free kick the rest of them. Now, you can adjust this up or down. This right here is your catch. So whenever you dump, so let's say your pedal catches halfway, right? You can set this that whenever you go to dump the clutch from the floor, your pedal is going to come up and it's going to stop at that catch point based on this.
Yep.
All right. And then the rest of it slipped out. So basically from, halfway all the way up to the top, that's this part on slip time. So, and you can adjust the speed and the rate and all that kind of stuff. What I tell guys, and this is where I'm going to bring my whiteboard in. So what I tell guys that have this device is, let's say this is bottom and this is top, okay? So here's the top of your pedal right here. So try to write upside down. So let's say this is the top of your pedal, okay? Let's say your bite point's right here, okay?
Yeah.
All right, you're going to set your device that when you dump it, okay, you're going to be right inside that bite point. So this is now got base, that little space right there is now base pressure, okay? It's got bite on it. All right, so, and this right here is slip time on the shock. So it makes sense now?
Yeah.
All right, so a good baseline is what I'm starting to tell these guys is try to get it to where whenever you try to get to where it catches the clutch, and that's easy, by the way. To find out where your pedal catch is, activate it or screw it all the way in, okay, to where it's going to catch the pedal super early, okay, when you dump it, and then whenever you I see the thumbnail that you were talking about. So sit in the pits or your driveway or the street. I don't care where you do it at. Activate it. All right, screw it all the way in. Activate it, and then dump the clutch. It's going to catch it really soon, and then when the pedal starts slipping, it'll go, and then it'll start to go. Take the knob here that catches it, okay, and start backing it out. And you're going to back it out to make this further up. So when you start dumping the pedal, it's catching it later and later further towards the top. Okay? Once you dump the clutch and it starts grabbing immediately, that's kind of where you want to be at. There's ground zero right there. Okay, right there in the middle. Okay? Yep. So once you find that point, which is super easy, so once you find that point, okay, you want to kind of back it out another turn to get right inside of it. So when you dump the clutch, it's immediately starting to grab. So whenever you get out there, and let's just say you put it up on a two-step or whatever, and you go to launch, whatever, you're going to get your base pressure first, then you're going to get that. Well, say that you cut let's say you leave at 4,000 RPM, right? And then it's slipping a lot. So what I tell guys is move your base pressure, move your knob further back, come up here. So get more bite of that clutch.
Yeah.
So because I like to take RPM, and I tell guys to get a two-step because what I'm trying to achieve is I'm trying to achieve consistency. All right, take your RPM, take your 4,000 two-step, all right, and dump the clutch, get a little bit more bite on it, and now it's loading the motor more. Like it's pulling it down. So now your motor's got to have enough ass to pull through it. So play with the if it starts pulling it down too fast, add some RPM to it. Raise your RPM up, okay? So it doesn't bog as much. Or if it's locking up too quick, slow the shock down to increase the slip time. But when you start backing the stop right here, if you notice that if you start backing it up further and further, this slip window right here gets shorter and shorter. Mm-hmm. So if your baseline is 1 second and you start backing it out, you can go 0.8 seconds, 0.7, 0.6, and so on and so forth. And you'll start to see it in your 60-foot. So I just start playing with base pressure. I leave the slip time the same, and I start playing with the base pressure and letting it grab later on in the pedal throw. And what that does is that take your slip window and it starts shrinking it like that. And then you're adding more aggression of the clutch because you're taking a lot of RPM and you're running into the clutch with it. And so the discs are trying to kick, discs are trying to free up, or the discs are trying to clamp, but the RPM is saying no, no, no. But it's one thing fighting against the other, and eventually you get some sort of a power transfer in between.
Mm-hmm.
So
I got a question then. So with that, so I see you turn that knob to adjust the base pressure. Is there a way to adjust the shock and how it?
Yep,
how
absolutely.
It moves. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me see. Let me do it here. The screen I'm looking at is like an inch by inch.
Right. Get small on the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is now set at full loose. Okay. So when I pull it out, you see how fast that is.
Quick
okay?
It goes in. Yeah.
So sometimes I'll tell a guy, hey man, he said crank that thing one turn. Well, let's go ahead and crank it 3. See how slow it is? Yep. Yeah. Crank it another one.
So that's how. Okay.
Yep. And you can get it as slow as you want to.
No
so,
shit.
Yep. So, and you'll start seeing videos like, and I'll post a couple of them, but I had a point where when I dumped the clutch, my RPM would flare, and they go, wow, and the car would die. It would pull down so fast. Well, the shock is too fast. It's slipping it too fast. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I took that and I slowed it down. I turned it a couple times, slowed it down. So now instead of it just going, wow, and anyways, it would just, wow, it just kind of keeps it at a static RPM all the way out. The clutch is wanting to lock up, but the RPM is wanting to keep going, and somewhere they got to meet in the middle. So it's just kind of a static RPM all the way out there, but the car's moving out. So it's a balance of power, and it's basically a balance of power transfer between two. I'm trying to take RPM and a lockup and trying to delay the two to meet up somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess with that too, like if you're on different surfaces, say you're on like a backside no prep or front side prepped race. Yep. So if you're using different levels of RPM to launch, then you're going to want to make some adjustments too, obviously to the for the surface as well. Yep.
Yeah. So so let's say on a prep track, this right here, we'll say it's 1 second. Okay. Well, let's say the same clutch assembly right here. Okay. And this is the catch point. All right. So we're going to put my catch point down here. Mm-hmm. So let's say this is 1 second, this one right here. So let's say you're on a no prep surface. Okay. Most guys, they run a slick tire, with a little bit of wheel speed. So you'll have to balance a couple things, but let's say this slip time right here, let's say we slow our shock down to 1.5. So we could take that same we could take that same distance that the pedal travels, and we could slow it down to a slower slip rate.
Slow down, yeah.
So you can slow it down that way. And when you get it slower like that, you're like, okay, that was too slow. I need to add a little bit of wheel speed, or, you know, I don't need to tax the clutch as much. You got two options. You can leave it at a low RPM, well, actually you got a couple options. You can either leave it at a low RPM, or you can just play with the hit some. 90% of the time in the car, if you have it dialed in, all you're going to do is touch this knob. That's it. Play with the bass. Play with the catch on it. So that way it gives more of a mechanical slippage, and you're not having to base it on another gadget.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
So pretty much. I mean, it's about as simple as good. I've always said that simplicity is genius, and I've tried to make that as simple as I can make it. And guys that have it, they'll go to the track, and I say, hey, when you get out there, I said, show me some video, and I'll help you dial it in. And usually within about 2 or 3 passes, we got it right.
Yeah, well, it looked like Tony had it figured out the first time out, right?
Yeah, yep. I told him what I was looking for. I said, this is how you set it. This is what you're looking for. Here's how you find your hit and all this kind of stuff. Man went out there, was a natural at it, and I think he cut a 128 on it. Just have him. He said that he didn't have a draggy at the time. He said, but driving it so much, he said, I knew it felt like a 1. He said, I knew it was a 1.4 on the street. He said, first pass. He said, it ain't doubt. So I was like, that's awesome. I'm glad it worked out for him.
So for guys like me and Chris that have an upcoming race season, especially being on the backside, no prep, when are these going to be available? Because it sounds like me and the Canadian will definitely need these guys.
There's no hope for y'all, man. I mean, there's no hope. There's
no hope for him. No hope for him.
No, Canadians don't race. Everybody knows that. No, believe it or not, I have 3 of these in Canada right now. They're in cars. So I actually got one of them. So I got one in Brazil, and I got one in England, actually. So So the only reason I haven't got these, I guess, in production run yet is because, plain and simple, I can't make these fast enough. So to make this from start to finish as nice as I can make it, it takes about anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending on the night. So because when I started making them, like I would get off work, and you work a full shift. Sometimes you pull some overtime. I'd have to go all the way to the shop, and I'd have to work till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then go home, then get it back up at 5, and then go to work the next day, and then repeat the next night. And, just to get one of these. So. And everybody's like, man, when can I get one? I was like, man, I'm trying. I said, I got a long list, and I just can't make them fast enough. But to answer your question of when they will be available, I'm trying as fast as I can to get it out before this season starts to kick off. I'm working with a company now. Y'all probably know him, FFP Customs down in Florida. So he's actually going to be doing a lot of my machining. So once he does if he makes all my parts, so he'll do all the CNC billet stuff, the stuff I have to make by hand, because everything on this thing is made by hand, from the drilling to the cutting to the painting to everything. So even this piece that holds the knob on the end, like that's a coupling nut and a spacer, and I have to weld all that together and then shape it to make that. And that takes me about an hour and a half just by itself to make it right. So, because if you get the alignment off, then it doesn't work, and then you have to scrap the rail. So, and I had to make a bunch of jigs and things like that. But if I have a CNC product, that's perfect every time I get it, I can just bolt them together and then send them out the door. And basically takes a 6-hour process and then cuts it down to 10 minutes of just bolting it together.
Oh wow!
So, yeah. So
what's kind of like your ballpark of what your estimated MSRP on these things?
So I've gotten pushback on it. I guess positive pushback, if that makes a thing. So I've tried to ballpark it in the middle of the field of where everybody else is at. So I know there are slipper devices out there. I know some of them are on the lower end of $270. and then some of them are on the upper end of, anywhere from 800 to 1,000. That's a slipper. That's what do they call them? Like a slipper valve or whatever. For the hydraulic stuff.
Hydraulic shit, yeah.
Yeah,
I reached out to a guy that sells those, the hydraulic one. That was like a year and a half ago, and I think it was like $1,000 for it.
Yep. Yeah. So but I'm trying to play the middle of the field and be fair to everybody, because my end goal is to get the guy to the track. I was like, if anything, I just want guys to get to the track. I hate seeing guys say, all right, Magnum transmission for sale, going turbo 400. So I hate seeing those posts. I can't stand them. Yeah. So I was like, but I priced this around the area about $450. So plus shipping. So that's kind of where I feel like is a good fair price for everybody. I've had guys want me to do $599 and so on and so forth, and this is just me, and this is, business owners will say, some business owners out there say, that's bad business to say you're shooting yourself in the foot. But so I make one of these for X amount of dollars. I go to make a Coyote car for another X amount of dollars, but a Coyote car is more than this one. So naturally, I should charge Coyote guys more, because it costs more to make one for your vehicle versus my vehicle. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like if I kind of straddle, but the thing is like, okay, some of these cars are going to cost high, some of them are going to cost low to make. So I'm just going to play the even field and make it fair for everybody, and I'm going to set this price. And so that way, some of the cheap guys are helping out the expensive guys up here, and we kind of balance the scales a little bit. So,
just I'm an average.
Yeah, I'm just going to do an average. Now I'm not saying that 450 price will not change, because it very well could be, depending on what my end cost is going to be. Because, I've got it set in my head for 450. I will make a good profit margin on it. I'm not necessarily looking at that. I am looking at that, but I'm not necessarily making that like the end all be all. I just need to make enough on each unit to keep the program going. Keep the program going, keep this program going. So because I got the tracks, and they'll run a stick class, and there'll be 3 cars in it. I was like, we got 3 cars about to race for $1,000. I said, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So,
I've been there. Yeah. I know exactly what that's like.
And I can tell. And it was, guys that say, you need to charge $600-700 for that, man. I say, you're about to stomp everybody out. I was like, there's a chance of that. I said, I'm not here to cast shadows over anybody else's product. My goal is just to get guys to the track. I want a simple product, a guy is easy to use, get to the track, and one that works. We've been through a few of them. So, and this one works the best, I will tell you.
Well, that's what I like about it. It's the manual aspect of it. It's very, it's pretty basic, right? There's not much. It's very mechanical, right? Which should be a huge benefit.
Yep. And so that shock right there, you won't find that on a store shelf anywhere. The first original shock was about 10.5 inches long, and it wouldn't fit in all the vehicles. It would fit in those, but you had to take off the knee panel, a little kick panel. And so I searched around for about a year, and I finally found a company that will make that shock in a short length, because the clutch chamber, the original clutch chamber by Grand Speed Shop, they had a short shock. And I was like, where do they get theirs at? And so I started doing some digging, and I couldn't find anywhere. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to find somebody to make a custom one for me. So I found a company that made one, or they made the little hydraulic, shocks. The technical term is a door closer or a dampener, but we call it shock. So, and they said, we can make this for you. I got 5 examples. So they sent me 5 examples. I put them in cars. They worked flawlessly, and they fit under the dash, and you could tuck away. You couldn't see them. And then if you wanted to adjust it, you can either leave your kick panel off, or you could take it, put it on and off, and it'll look like factory. So I built it around all the factory dash components. So I found the company. They're like, yeah, we'll make them, but our minimum order is 3,000 units. And I was like, okay, well, how much is the units? And they shot me a dollar amount, and I started doing the math. I was like, okay, so I'm about to pay 5 figures for some screen door closures. So, and that's basically what it is. And the running joke was, it was screen door mafia. So because that's all we had to work with to slip these clutches was a little screen door shock that we got at Ace Hardware down here. So I went out, got gained the capital and ordered 3,000 units. So I have 3,000 door shocks that are going to go into some fast race cars. So
how many do you have out in the wild now?
I used to number them. So if you're watching this and you have a number on them, you probably got one of the early ones that I did. So if you flip the rail over, it'll have a number on it. It'd be like 003, 0012 or whatever, and I used to number every one of them. I would sign it and put a number on it. I think if I had to estimate, I probably got about 40 units out there right now.
Oh,
and about 4 different types of applications.
Yeah.
One I just recently did was a F body, and it tucks up on the dash real nice. And the bracket itself is not complex. It's just bigger than most, so it's not a small intricate piece like what I got here. But it fits in a factory slot underneath the dash. You can take factory bolts off and you can slide it up over, the holes up over it, and then you can turn them back down, and then it fits. All you do is connect to the pedal and then put wire it up. And the wire is simple. It's literally a fuse tap, about 3 feet of wire that I send you with some heat shrink connectors and a momentary switch. When you buy one, all this comes in the bag. I literally send you everything already planned out. All the R&D has been done. You don't have to figure anything out. The only thing you have to figure out, if I had to guess, where you want your button. That's it. Yeah. I've done everything else for you. And you get all that wrapped up in a bow, for $450. So
I like it.
Yeah. And I do offer a warranty on this kind of stuff. I'm thinking that once I have this officially released, I'm going to do probably like a 2-year warranty or something like that. So if you have one, hey, my shock's leaking. Okay, send me your address. I'll send you a new one. So you ain't got to return the old one. Just send me a picture, show me where it's leaking. I'll send you a new one. So
yeah, I was going to ask about that with like replacement parts. No,
that's to the list or what?
Yeah. No, it's badass. Like my only concern with my setup personally with it is I've got like the clutch has some slip in it because it's just the clutch isn't it's underrated for what I'm putting through it.
Well, how about we put a big boy clutch in there and make you go fast and
break that MT82.
I'm telling you, listen. I've got some MT82 cars, man, and they got some RXTs in them, and they're doing pretty well right now. So they got them down on a 129 on a Radial.
Sign me up. I'm in line.
So it's just it works. I mean, I don't want to sell something that doesn't work to somebody, and if it doesn't work, tell me what's not working, and I'll go back and fix it. Like Tony's was when Tony wanted one. I said, send me pictures of your dash. And he sent me pictures of the dash. He had none of the factory stuff under the dash except for the studs for the steering column. I said, okay. And I had a Fox body near me, and it had the studs. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to base something off of that to send to him. And then and I went in, mocked up some brackets, got it to work, sent it to him. He said it was a direct fit. So I'm about to do one here recently or here in the next couple of weeks for a Maverick. So
nice,
and we'll have some fun with those. I've had a couple Maverick people hit me up about them, but literally like this was all hardware store and Amazon things. This is nothing special. This is just took a little bit of engineering and a creative mind to make one. So
well, you put in the work, you did the R&D. So I mean, hey, you know what? That's like as we say at my job. When you did the work, you're the one that deserves to be the one recognized for it.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and I've always got to give credit to my boy Zach, for planting the seed because he had the initial concept, but didn't know how to pursue it, necessarily execute it. So me and him working together, we had a basic concept, And then I just refined it over the next couple of years. Because originally we didn't have this solenoid. Like if you're in a vet or something like that, how are you going to reach into the dash to go push it if you're in a 5-point harness? Yeah. So it's been refined.
So which applications do you have them made up for now? So obviously the S197, because we had Phil on an earlier episode, and he's running one. Obviously your application, Fox body.
Yep. So Fox bodies, SN cars, everything from S197. I've actually got one for 550. There's only one S550 out there right now that's got it, and that's Eric Vega. Probably another guy you should put on your show. That dude's solid. He's trying to go H with an ESS blower and in a Coyote car, and so he's actually got my only S550 one. That one was a pain in the ass. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've been under the dash of S550. There's nothing to mount it to, and there is no room. Gosh, like, and it was the only way I could mount it was your sunglass holder has to go away. And I felt bad about it. I was like, I've gotten these to be tucked away to where you can't see and maintain all the factory appearance. No, your sunglasses got to go away, and I got a little bit of a rail sticking out with a knob on it. So
yeah, I'm sure if you're racing, then the benefit of it outweighs the sunglass holder.
Yeah, pretty much, and and he went like 130. He went like high 130s on it. IRS car. And I told him, I was like, we'll get that thing down to 1 2. So we're just waiting for the tracks to open back up and get some good weather on it. So, but I mean, it's good stuff, man. And just so you like, everybody's like, does it work with every clutch? Pretty much, yeah. It really does. I haven't had a clutch that has not worked it. That is the most aggressive clutch I've ever seen in a car. It literally has it's on-off switch. It's like a 1/4 inch of pedal throw before from initial hit to full lockup. There is no in between. So, and I took that and I slowed it down so much that it was still slipping past the device was still going past the 8th mile.
Oh shit!
Right. That's how slow I had to get that clutch to slow down to do it. And because pretty much when the pedal comes up, it just kind of hangs there. And then it goes. Yeah. So I had to figure out how to slip 1 second over a 1/4 inch. It was slow. But
the good thing is, from what I'm hearing, it'll get guys on radials too, where usually stick guys we're stuck to bias plies, so we always have the downside of we get less mile per hour. But now with something like this, you could run like a pro bracket radial and get that nice mile per hour out the back door and run a good number.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I've had that question come up before. Was like, does it work on a radial? Yep, it's just power management. That's like anything. It's just power management. I mean, on a slick tire, you don't see the slip as much in a slick tire car because wheel speed. So you don't know exactly how much lockup you have on your clutch with a slick tire because you got wheel speed that you're trying to achieve. So on a radial, it's got a hook. It's got a dead hook. So, and then when it dead hooks, well, all that power's got to go somewhere. So it's going to tax the clutch. So,
yeah, for anyone that's looking to run a radial on a stick shift car, like that's a no-brainer. Like you got to have that. And I thought of that too because wanting to get more doing the drag and drive stuff and more on the front of the track. I thought about it too because a lot of guys go faster on radials, right? And in my mind, I'm like, you need Garrett's slipper device to go play that game.
Plus, a lot of the modern classes too are almost requiring where you can't be on a slick. You need to be on a DOT radial 17 or larger wheel. So this is going to be the option for a lot of the guys with the new S550s, new Camaros, even a lot of the Hemi cars, the Hellcats and whatnot that are manual. Here's something that you guys can use to run those, DOT legal events, new age stuff and daily driver kind of events. I mean, I'm sure that'll even work on hard tire stuff.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. I know I've gotten it to verifiably with a draggy. I've gotten them to go like 151 on the street, on a slick tire. I mean, which in no prep is great,
Oh yeah, that's like on the street or backside. Hell yeah, and that's what I'm thinking too. Even with like the backside stuff, like that's super beneficial on a stick car, especially on a terrible surface, because you can really at least still get your RPMs up high to get out and just put a lot more slip in it just to get the thing rolling, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Surface, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're on like a radial and it's taxing the clutch, you could tune it by ear. That's how I tune most of them, is by ear. I tell guys, send me a video, and they'll send me a video, and all right, your suspension's working. All right, now I'll sit there and I'll play the video over and over again. And I'm just listening to the clutch and the lockup. I was like, it's gonna flare the RPM, it's gonna plateau, and then it's gonna dip, and that dip is the lockup. So it tells, and I can go back and like look at the timestamp and like where the lockup is. I'm like, okay, slow it down a half a turn, or speed it up a half a turn, or hey, add some hit to it, or take some hit away. And I just feed them information like that, and I just watch their 60 foot just go down with each pass. So, and you can fine tune it like that. And it's just so easy. It takes all the guesswork out of it. Literally just dump a clutch and go. And I'll tell you another thing that nobody, like some of these guys didn't know until I mentioned it. The one part, and I think just as important as the 60 foot is the tree.
Yep.
Stick guys, by a margin, suck at trees because, auto guys, button, that's it. Yep. So this one makes it to where you don't have to think about slip any. So just dump and go. And I can tell you, and I'll show you time slips if you want it. But on the tree, I usually get most of my races are won on the tree. And so by the time this is on the floor, by the time I got this on the floor, and then I see the first yellow light, I'll dump it as soon as I see that first yellow light, because by the time my foot comes up, it slams that, the shock starts to slip, it bites the clutch, turns the wheels. Time has already elapsed. So, and if you time it just right to where you see that first yellow light and dump it with one of these in there, and you have it set just right, you'll be cutting O's religiously. So I think I've cut an 036 on this one, and then I'll hang around. Normally on this car, I'll be like somewhere between 080 to like 110. Just basic, not trying. I really got to try to get it down. But one of the guys that originally tested the solenoid version when I first made it was a guy, Stevie Schrader Performance in I think it's North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. So he went out to the FL2K, and he was going to go against Kyle from Boosted Boys with that Honda. Yep. And Kyle had cut it like a 052 on the guy on the last pass. And I told him, I was like, dude, y'all are tit for tat on ET right now. I said, you're going to have to get him off the tree. And so I told him, I was like, hey, listen, when that first light comes, I said, dump that. I said, don't think about it, dump it. You're just going to have to trust me on this. And he went out there and he did it, and he cut a 051 on him, and Kyle cut like a 100, I think. But Steve cut a 051 on him and got out on him by the tree. But he ended up struggling with one of the shifts, and then Kyle nosed around him when turbo Honda, they're going to back half. Oh yeah. So, but it helps. Not only does that improve your 60 foot, it will help you chop that tree down. I'm telling you, it is like magic.
I know the 60 foots and reaction times. I mean, with a stick car, it is very hard to be consistent without some sort of assistance. I mean, the luckiest, again, just guessing the tree. I mean, the best I think I've gotten. This is maybe my first season of racing. I got a 009 on pure guessing, and ever since then, it's been like best I've gotten was like a 48 or a 49, or on the higher end, up in the 70s, shit like that. Mm-hmm. Nothing good where you're just like looking at you like, damn, okay, like there's room for improvement. It's all over the place, and then you put a device on it and you're able to constantly, okay, now I'm hitting 1.4s, and my reaction time is constantly in the 040s, 030s, whatever. It's like to be able to repeat that. I mean, you're even opening the door for bracket guys too that want to I got a stick shift, I can't bracket. There's a lot of guys that want to do that, not just no prep and heads up stuff. So there's a good market for this because, again, you're getting guys to the track. It's affordable. You're able to put cars on radials for guys that want to do drag and drive. It's easier on clutches and parts for sure. So you're in the long run, small investment, you're saving yourself some money. This is honestly like one of the best things for the stick shift community, honestly.
Yep. I appreciate it, man. It's just like, I got an eye-opening experience, and it just made you feel fuzzy inside when I seen it. My NAS this past year, we went there, and there was 22 cars in the stick clash, and 11 of them had my device in it.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, man, all these guys are here, and they were killing it. Like I was out, I was out on the first round, and but man, the guys that had them, they were killing it, and they were chopping their times down as the day went. It was like the first official year I've actually put them out there, and then I would go pit to pit, and I guess one thing a lot of people don't, or that I guess one thing that's missing already is like nobody wants to help you at all. I mean, even if you're ops in the staging lane, all right, nobody wants to help you at all. So I went out to, guys that had it that were racing against me. I said, show me your time slip, show me a video. They showed me a video. I was like, okay, for the next pass, you need to do this. So I was trying to help them get further in eliminations, even though I knew I was going to have to go against them. So why keep the secret to yourself? I want to see it success, And the guys were, I think out of the 11 cars that was there, if I remember correctly, 8 or 9 of them got a PB. So and it was, and it put 1, 2, 3. I think there was 4 cars out of there that finally broke into the 8s with it. So they got their 60-foot down and they broke into the 8s with it. So, because that's what they struggled with the whole time. They were cutting like 1.5, 1.6, 60-foots. And so then I got them a unit. Some of them I put in myself at the track. And they go out there and they start chopping down that 60-foot, and you start watching their ET go down, 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 down. And eventually they got to the 8s because they were already down 30, down 40 cars. So all you need is a good 60-foot and a little bit of power on the big end, and then you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
you know what the crazy part about all this is? I'm usually the guy that's against devices or any sort of help. You guys were listening to previous podcasts. I'm always like, no, man, you got to be a caveman about it, drive it. But honestly, God, the way I look at it, if you're doing this to get better, to get faster, to go after those records, if you don't have the budget for broken parts, this is, again, one of the best things you can do for yourself. Even from my experience, I've twisted axle tubes, broken drive shafts, God knows what else, twisted wheel studs. I can imagine how many times this would have saved me trips to the parts stores,
Yeah.
And that's I always say too is, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's like I say too, like in the past, like you're against like face plating and stuff like that, Jay. And there's some things like for example with this slipper device where I think it obviously will help with consistency and it will help your times and everything. But when you're racing stick shift, like if you can have some sort of fuse to help everything else, right, which the slipper will help take that shock load off, your transmission, rear end, all these other things, like it's really a big benefit, for $450. It's going to really help everything along the drive line, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So especially with how much money it costs to go racing. Just to go break shit and
something like this or faceplate, like I'm cool with that personally.
Oh, yeah. Still iffy on the faceplate. Yeah. Still iffy. Don't cross the line, Chris.
Don't cross it. But like with your car, it's just the T56 with synchros still in it, right, Garrett?
Yeah. It's still that way. I have a spark, so it's got Holly in it, so it's spark cuts. When I kick the clutch, I have to actively kick the clutch. I'm not running it into a limiter, so I'm still every gear I'm kicking that thing.
Yeah,
and so yeah, so
the videos.
it'll always be that way, man. It's just I don't know. Listen, I've been called out on podcasts about basically talking shit about not kicking clutches. And so, but it's fine. Like I love the back and I like the back and forth about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want every idea to be, in line with mine. I like a little bit of controversy,
Yeah. I don't care if you don't kick the clutch, you're a bitch. So.
Yeah.
I love it here. This is great.
Listen. And friends of mine are going to watch this and that don't kick the clutch anymore. And I love them to death. It's just I'm always going to be a clutch kick guy.
Oh yeah.
I'll be 2/10 slower kicking the clutch. It's just more fun to me that way. So,
yeah.
and I understand, like, once you get up in like a really high power level, you have to kind of leave that clutch locked up. Like if you're like a grub worm or something, okay, you'll have to leave it locked up, because if you're going to kick clutch every gear, that clutch is going to get hot. It's going to hate life in between with that much horsepower. You're asking it to catch 2,000 horsepower. It's not going to be happy.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and I told guys, and back on this device, I told guys that were iffy about it. I said, listen, and I'll still ring it true to this day. Buy the product. If you do not like it, and test it. If you do not like it on your test sessions within 60 days, send it back to me. I'll give you a full refund. I have not had a single one come back.
Now, there's something I want to touch on because you said something there, and I think it's a perfect time to bring this up. So you were talking about grub worm, and you said, you understand like how with a 2,000 horsepower car, you need that thing to be grabbing on all time. You can't basically, it doesn't make sense to be kicking the clutch. So
put an auto in it.
No. Well, no. You're going to the extreme.
We're going to end that here.
I'm going to throw a bone here. So I would say, as I've brought up before about, different class variations, is that the street car guys should be kicking clutches and shouldn't be racing against guys with G101s, G5Rs, faceplated transmissions, because those are race cars. If you don't have to kick your clutch, you got a race car. Go on, big dog. Go race against the clutch G101.
I like it. I like this controversy here. So
we're gonna have to get someone that doesn't kick clutches on one of these.
I'll tell you what, next weekend, let's have my guy John Leslie on. He's a good friend of mine, but he's gonna kick my ass when he hears me talking down in the G101.
It's funny. So my buddy Heath, all right, and I know I'm sure y'all familiar with the car Radial.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Heath owns that. So it's a faceplated transmission, and Heath kicks the clutch every single gear.
Attaboy.
And so he kicks the clutch every single gear. There you go. I saw it starting to go, so I was trying to save it. So he kicks the clutch every single gear. He's got a faceplated transmission, a G101. Okay, and I asked, and people have been trying to get him, and he's like, nope, not happening. I'm kicking the clutch every single gear. When he stands it up, he's kicking that clutch and running the next gear to put it back down. So like that stuff. There might come a time where he's going to try it out and run it into the limiter. So I'm not going to be there on the line with him. I'm going to be in the concessions getting a hot dog or something. So I don't want to watch that kind of. But I think it's most fun when you kick the clutch. Like I said, I understand there's situations where you can't really do it per se, but because I'm always, cars. Yeah, and I said this before, and I got in flack for it. I said the purest form of stick shift racing is clutch kicking, and so and if I really want to get down to it, anyways, I don't think I might even talk against myself saying that this is not, and that you have to slip it with your foot. That's OG style stick shift racing. Yeah. So I have no problem talking about that, because if I didn't have this, I'd suck. That's just plain simple. So,
well, we appreciate the honesty. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm prideful in some things, but I'll never have an automatic in that car. But I'm not as prideful as where to say, when you're outgunned and beat, on skill. There's guys out there way faster than me. My buddy Zach, man, he's way more skilled with slipping the clutch than I am. I mean, he went faster than I did, in the beginning, slipping it with his foot than I did with a slipper device. But yeah, I mean,
I think you're doing the right thing, because I on the last couple of podcasts I've joked around. Well, not really joked around. I've thrown the thought around about, hey, if I want to start getting more competitive in like true street, maybe I have to put a 400 in it. But if this is an option, I can go out there with some of those big dogs in true street and run with those guys. Yeah. I mean, hell, I think you're going to keep a stick shift in my car a lot longer.
Oh yeah, man! I'm telling you, like it'll make you fun again. I've saved some guys from putting auto in their car. They'll tell you like, "Hey man, I was like, hold on, listen, I'll send you one. Try it out. If you don't like it, send it back." And then they made the decision like, "Hey, this is kind of nice. I'd like to pay you for it." I was like, man, just buy the parts. Keep it. So, and I've done it that way. I've sponsored some little guys before. You know, they're trying to get some things situated out with their car because I watch them on Facebook or Instagram, and they're like down on the luck and they kill like a 1.9. I was like, you know, I see but they're steady going to the track. Like, you're going to the track, even though you suck, you're going to the track. I was like, hey man, here, try this out. So, but I mean, just, you know, it's just, I've sponsored a couple guys on it, and, you know, there's guys that are like, hey man, I've been trying to get one of these before this race, but I don't think I can swing it right now. I said, I tell you what, I said, I'll make you a deal. Go out there. I said, go out to the track and run it. I said, if you get this number on a time slip, I said, you could keep it for free. If you don't, I said, then you'll pay me for it. And so, and I've shot myself in the foot on that because they got it. They started getting it every time. I was like, really? And I've told them, and they're like, man, like really, like what? I gotta owe you something. I said, nothing. I said, the best compliment is just go get me a time slip. That's the compliment. I said, you know, if you go out, if you go into the track, you keep your stick shift alive. That's all I want. So now don't take this like I'm just going to start handing these out for free, okay? Yeah. You know, your boy got to pay bills here. So. Yeah, exactly. But I'll try to help some guys out, and if they couldn't swing it, you know, before the race, you know, I say, hey, listen, here you go, just pay me back after the race sometime, and you know, things like that. But you know, I've tried to be generous to guys, you know, the little guy, anyways. I could easily hand this off to somebody that's got like a Cletus status and be like, hey, try this out. You know, I don't need that. I said, you know, the little guy will speak for me is just as good. So they go out there, look at the improvement on the car, and they'll start talking. And that's pretty much how people have been getting a hold of me, is just by word of mouth, really. Because I really haven't posted anything in the past 6 months about it.
That's honestly the best advertisement. Think about it. Oh. Does Ferrari advertise? Do they have commercials? Nope.
Oh, yeah. Nope.
I can imagine with that post that Tess put up.
Oh yeah.
You got tons of messages after that.
I woke up to 22 messages in my inbox.
Oh yeah.
Like it was 6 a.m. I was like, do these people not have lives? Like, what do y'all do between midnight and now? So like,
don't worry, I'll wake up at 4 in the morning.
I was like, my inbox was zero. My inbox was 0 at midnight, and now I got 22 messages at 6 a.m. So like, it's ridiculous. But
I get you up with the 3 a.m. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You up? You up
right now?
You up? Yeah. I think the first time somebody per se found out about it was FL2K 2023. I went out there and I was severely outgunned, but I went to the semifinals. And like I was going against like big turbo Hondas and turbo LS RX-7s and things. And I was sitting in the class, and I think there was 51 cars in the class, but they split the class. And so guys were coming up to me in the pits, like, man, I said, I watched you at that. Like, how did you get that thing to launch so good? And I was like, and I showed them there. I showed them in the like, these are drivers, like guys I'm having to go against. Like, so if I beat you last round, like that guy was coming up to me, and, you know, in the lanes or in the pits or whatever. It's like, hey man, you got out on me and stuff like that. Man, you launched that car good. And it's like, man, what's your setup? And then I show it to them in the car, and they're just like, no way. They're like, what is that? I said, that's a screen door shock from a hardware store. And they're like, how do I get one? I said, give me time. I said, I'm doing a lot of R&D stuff for a lot of platforms right now. And I went to the semifinals on it, and I was cutting I cut like a 139 on one pass, but I was cutting 139 to 141 every single pass. So, and I was just playing with the RPM and the power. So
I'm definitely going to scoop one. So even with my clutch, I think on the backside stuff, like I think it could even be a big benefit with my setup that I currently have. So
what's your power level right now there, Chris?
Well, I'll make about 850. It hasn't been on a dyno, but somewhere in the 850. Yeah.
Throw an RXT in it.
Yeah.
Or a 1200. We'll make it work.
Especially if I put that device on it, then no issues, right? Because if I can get that slip, then I'm sure I'll be fine. Yeah, and anytime somebody gets one of these, I probably, if it starts getting rolling really, I probably can't do it as much because I'll have to make videos like explaining a bunch of stuff and like how to tune it and things. But like when somebody gets something, I say, hey, put it in. Here's how you put it in. I'll send them a video.
And then I said, when you get to the track, I said, text me. Anyways, they'll get to the track. All right, here's how you find your hit. All right, go make a pass. And they'll come back and it's like a 148 60 foot. And they'll show me a video. I was like, okay, tighten up your front suspension, add this much slip, add this much hit or take away hit, etc. And then I'll just they'll go 148, 146, they'll go 142, and then they'll go like a 138. And we were just stepping it in pass by pass. So
that's good news.
You've
surface I race on,
a lot.
if you can cut. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say you've absorbed a lot of information in your short period of time from racing, because even with the suspension stuff, I guess it's a lot of people you're probably hanging around too.
Yeah, it is like a lot of my suspension stuff. Like this car is actually blueprint after my buddy Zach's car. Like he's the wizard. I don't think I'm the wizard on the clutch game. I'm not at all. I just like to tinker with things. And then so he taught me a lot about how to set up a car and this and that and technical facts. He helped me install the Holly. I still can't really tune a car. I know enough to get in trouble and blow it up if I wanted to, but as far as like making one live, I'm not that guy. So I let him tune the car remotely. Like I said, it's still a stock motor. If it's living through that much. By the way, it's got 18 pounds of boost and a 250 shot on it.
Hell yeah! He likes to party.
And I'll tell you what's funny. So whenever I launch the car, anyways, I'll see 18 pounds immediately. So that's the blower, and then the first kit's on. So first kit's on, it's like 100 shot, okay? And then the second kit comes on. Now, this has still got stock cam, so I don't think Ford planned to breathe this much. So anyway, so basically I'm trying to take nitrous and shove it in there, and it's just not wanting to go. So as I'm going down the track, when the second kick comes on, my boost spikes a PSI. It goes up. So it'll go from 18, 19. And then it'll start to go 19, 2, 5, 8, and then it might hit 20. Anyways, and that's just the nitrous stacking in the intake because it can't get it all. So it's pretty wild.
That's cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but we keep it safe.
250.
Yeah, we keep it safe. It's Holly. It's got 1R. It's got a good fuel system in it. He's conservative with the timing per se, and we just. I'm gonna see how far to go. I'm not trying to blow it up, but if it happens, well, nice life,
But you're gonna stick with the blower stuff.
Do I now?
You're gonna stick with the blower stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the blower stuff for now. A lot of guys that go big Whipple stuff, they run into crank issues on these cars because they like to snap off the snout. Anyways, it's just the ratcheting of it that just doesn't like it, especially when you do like a big RPM drop. And, we found out that, some of the intercooler bricks beneath the blower were actually part of the problem because they wouldn't flow as much as some of the stock stuff or like, all right. So you have a really tight mesh brick that's great for cooling, but as far as trying to shove boost through it, it's not good. So you got a blower that's trying to turn, 100 PSI through a brick, and you might get 30 out the bottom, And so it's just adding stress on that snout, which is added stress on the crank. And when you're trying to ratchet all that with high-low RPM swings, it doesn't like it and ends up snapping the crank off on these. So
I heard too, I don't know how true it is, but I know like with my blower, I have the Roush TVS, and it runs on the closest pulleys to the engine. And someone was telling me, I don't know how true it is, but Whipple, I think, runs on like the accessory pulley, like the further pulley out, which gives a bit more pull on the crank.
Anytime you can get the belt rack or the pulley closer to the timing cover, it puts less load on the crank snout, because you're not hanging it all the way out here. Another aid that could happen, and I think there's only one company that can do it, is a clutch pulley for the blower snout. So, and I don't know if you've ever seen one of those or not. So basically, it works just like a bicycle. So, you know, you can pedal it one way, but as soon as you stop pedaling, the wheel still free spins, right? So essentially the same thing. So when you're ratcheting, when you're shifting gears and you're ratcheting the blower and stuff, the rotors are still free spinning, and eventually the RPM change from the pulley to the rotors free spinning will all start to meet in the middle, and it'll cushion the impact of it. So
oh, shit. Yeah, I never heard of that.
But yeah, I mean, just, you know, there's a couple things that we're gonna try. You know, the Coyote stuff's a little bit better as far as like the running the blower stuff comparatively to the Cobra. But I don't know. We're gonna see how, you know, I'm gonna see how far I can really push this combo. If this one's to blow up, a built motor's gonna go in it. Sitting behind the car is a Texas block.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll probably do like a 10 to 1, 11 to 1. I got a set of ported heads. We're gonna throw some really big honking cams in it, and then see how much run on boost, throw some more nitrous at it, and, you know, go run with that combo for a little bit.
So there's room on that blower to put a smaller pulley on?
Probably not. I mean, technically yes, but you start running into belt wrap issues. You could put so that's a 2.9 that's on it now. You could put a 2.7 on it, but you start running into belt wrap issues and you slip it up top. So I just put a 2.9 on it with a 6-pound lower, bigger ring, and then it gives me about 18 pounds. The same combo would be a 4-pound ring and a 2.7 upper. You know, and but I mean, what I can blow, I'll just make up a nitrous.
It sounds phenomenal. So that thing screams. I love those videos from inside the car. It works out pretty good. I actually didn't mean to spray 250 on it. The only reason I did is because I didn't have matching jets to put 200 on it. So the only next size up was 250. That was the only two we had matching jets on. We're like, we'll see.
It's the way to do it.
See what happens. Yeah, because we were conservative with the timing. It ran a 955 like on the first 2 kit pass that it did. And we're like, holy crap. It said at mile an hour, like 147. I was like, we went from 140 to 147. And I was like, holy crap. I said, that was such a jump. So I was like, well, what now? And he's like, hold on a second. He said, I'm working the tables. And he sent me back a file. And he said, I got more radical with the timing and the ramp. And then we went out. I went a 935 at 149. And the next pass up, I got an intercooler pump. It went 936 at 140. So it just pulled all the timing out of it. So I think on that pass, it probably would win a 920 with probably about 151 mile an hour. So I don't think anybody's seen an Eaton car with a chute, but it's going to happen. So, and
are you running it on a radial or on a slick?
Yeah, originally it was a Pro Bracket radial. The next was an ET Street. Wow, so it's got an ET Street on it. I've been running on like half used tires for like the past 2 years. Somebody runs them half life, I'll buy them up for like $100. So
that's funny because I love the plate on the car, but I didn't really understand. I'm like, poverty. I'm like, well, it's not really poverty, but now I get where that's coming from.
Yep. Yeah. So the poverty stuff just kind of came natural because it was I was buying everything used and everybody else was getting new stuff and whatnot. And everybody was buying new stuff and Coyote cars, and I was just like, well, I said, I need to get, on that level, but I don't really know how. So I ended up getting, I might have to move you on my phone. So I ended up getting, used market stuff, like the transmission out of it, came out of another car that was, it came out of another car that was having problems with it. And it ended up having like a transmission noise. And he says, I don't know what's going on. He said, I'm just through with it. So I ended up getting like a Magnum for like $1,200. So he ended up selling it to me. When he sold it to me, I went through it with a fresh set of synchros, upgraded some pads, and then what else did I do to it? Synchros, pads, and I think that was pretty much it. And I just put a good set of synchro mesh through it and let it ride. So I mean, it worked out pretty good. Man, couldn't complain about it at all. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just Property Cobra. I mean, it's just a bunch of used parts thrown together and they work.
Oh,
That's the way to do it, man. It gets the job done, honestly.
Yeah, so this car is actually going to get a cage this year. Let me see if I can flop my camera around. Cam.
Yeah, check her out.
I'm about to. I got some stuff torn out of it, but I mean, it's still got stock seats, steering wheel, whole nine, but it's going to get a cage in it. We're going to end up, you know, I rode too long, too fast in it, so and trying to put some safety in it. Sucks because it's going to make it heavier.
Do you still street drive it?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I drove it to work. Yeah, I drove it to work. So, and I took, you know, I like taking people rides and things like that, and it's been a lot of fun. So, so I got the blower off of it, obviously. I usually could do this with one hand. Oh, there it is. Pretty much stop motor. That's it. Stop motor. Nothing to it. Still a iron block. It's kind of messy right now. I got all my nitrous lines and everything kind of just bundled up back there. But I mean, it's really nothing special. It's just, you know, a little bit of boost and juice. We did put a Holley on it, Holley Terminator X. It makes the tuning a lot easier. As far as like safety wise. So as far as safety wise, it makes it a lot easier. And then it's all UPR. I'm not a fan of like mixing too many brands together as far as like, you know, one particular, I guess, purpose. So all my suspension stuff is UPR. Yep. And it's got strange 10-ways all the way around it. There's literally nothing special. Yep. It separates like 4 inches in the back whenever I launch.
Yeah.
So, but
if you ever need help there, let me know.
Oh yeah, I'll hit you up.
I got you.
What does the car weigh?
So with me in it, it weighs 3490.
Okay. Pretty much right with Mike. Actually,
yeah, about 30.
That's with me without in it.
Yeah, so 3490 was 3490 with me in it, and I still got a lot of weight to lose out of it. I ended up doing a small battery and things like that, just trying to shave onesies and twosies here and there, you know. Eventually it's going to get all aluminum exhaust on it. Right now they're dumped out the back. So we did one on Zach's car, and it ended up, I'm trying to think how much that thing weighed. So from the collector, mid-pipe, to the dumps right before the axle, it was 11 pounds. And it was completely out of aluminum.
Oh, shit.
So we're going to start doing stuff like that to, you know, because when you're limited on power, you know, when you ain't got much power to work with, you know, with stock blowers and things like that. And I really can't, and you know, on stock motor, I really can't spray a lot of nitrous or any more nitrous to it because the cam's just not going to want to do it. We're just going to lighten it up pretty much. Get after the 60 foot, line it up and let it go. I mean, it's probably, I don't have an official time slip for it, but I guarantee it probably went like a 132 60 foot in the combo that it's at now. It's toted both front tires on it. I mean, yeah, it's street driven. I mean, it's got 140,000 miles and it doesn't, and I bought it, had 76 on it.
That's crazy. 140,000 miles, 18 pounds of booze, 250 shot of nitrous.
Just broken in.
Yeah. If Ford made one good motor, that was the one right there.
Jeez.
So,
I'd say so.
Yeah. Right. And people, and a lot of people, and I'll open it up. There'll be a day I'll open it up, but it's legit stock motor. Like I've had the oil pan off one time to replace a gasket and the valve cover off one time. That was it. And that was the only time the internal's ever seen daylight.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Sick, man. I guess you could say you definitely hit that goal of having a fast street car that you wanted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, my dream was to own a 9-second street car. Now it's an 8-second street car.
That's it.
So, and that'll be a 7?
They'll probably gonna need some turbos then. Or maybe just more nitrous. Yeah, I'm gonna go with more nitrous.
Jay will support that. Yeah,
we love nitrous around here.
Yeah, yeah. Right now it's a nitrous motor with a shot of boost.
I like that.
Yeah. You're not wrong with that.
Yeah, but Yeah, it's crazy what it morphed into. I had no idea it was gonna do this, but or be this fast or be this combo for. Because I mean, my younger self was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna own one. I'm gonna put a Kenny bell on it. It's gonna make all the wee sounds, and we're gonna have fun. And I'm gonna be IRS, and none of that happened. None of it. So, like, not a single one of aspect of my original dream came true. Like, it's just been opposite since.
No, this is a better dream.
Oh yeah, dude, it's a drug. Like the nitrous is such a drug. I understand why people do it now. Like, it's a little aggravating, like trying to heat bottles and stuff before rounds or keep the temperature up. But man, it's violent. It's just violent in a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we got to get you? We got to get you one of those Nitrous Express automatic bottle heaters. I had that on my combo. Dude, perfect. Always kept the bottle at the right pressure. It turns off when it gets to the pressure. And if it drops, turns it right back on. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's, man, I tell you, it's, Heath has got one, and I'm probably going to end up getting one as well. And his is great. I mean, he's got to have one for a nitrous car. So, but yeah, like try to get a bottle bath and stuff like that. That's kind of where I was gonna, what I need to have. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was OG, trying to heat it with a torch at the track because I didn't have anything. I was poor. Yep. Propane was cheap. So I'm not gonna lie, we did it. We done it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm gonna stick with this for a while and have some fun. But I mean, it's got all good parts underneath it.
I think we all kind of ended up in that same boat where we had a goal with our cars and they all kind of morphed into something crazy. I would say.
Yep.
I would think so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause I wanted to drive it around a lot more than what I normally did. And I ended up doing it when, I did drive it around when I first got it. Like I said, I put 3,000 miles on it in the first year I had it. And so whenever I started getting racing, I was like, okay, I can't drive it as much as I can. I'm trying to look for my little socket thing here. Oh, it's outside. But
I thought you were getting a forklift.
No, I was side by side. So forgot my charger at the house, but I got a socket though. But but whenever I started driving it, I drove it everywhere on the street. I took road trips with it. I ended up taking it on. I ended up driving it to South Florida. I drove it to North Alabama. Me and Zach, my buddy Zach, actually met at a backside no prep when I first got the car. It was 4 months after I got the car, and when he had a SN95 with a 331 motor in it, and it was just all motor, nothing special. It was a vert. And I drove it 4 hours to the track, raced him twice, gapped him. God, it was such a gap. So, and he'll see this and he'll know. But I always told him, me and Zach have been great friends for years. And I've always told him, people, I was like, I said, yeah, is it me and Zach met? I said, I raced him one time. I gapped him. And he thought I was a hero and wanted to be like me, so he bought a Terminator 2. That was the story I gave people. Not true at all. Not true at all. But because his car will run a 7 way before mine does. He's at 804 right now on a turbo setup. Jesus. And so, yeah. So it was just we've had a funny relationship back and forth. So my car wouldn't be the way it is without him. Right now. So he, like I said, he's a lot of the brains and the wizardry, behind it all. But he ended up building a twin turbo Cobra. He ended up getting the stock motor record for the blower combo, which was 888. We tried to get that for a while, and then he started working on mine, and that's just kind of been his little side project. Probably one of his more unorthodox creations, so to speak. So he gets to play with it on the laptop and, see how fast he can get an Eaton car to go. But yeah, that's just pretty much it. But yeah, what about Canada, man? I didn't know y'all really had stick shift racing up there. I ain't gonna lie.
We don't. There's not much of it.
I mean, like I found out about you through like a post and a YouTube video, and then I heard you talk. I was like, Canadian, got it. So,
oh shit.
I was like, you started talking about this track, and you were at this track. I was like, where's that track at? And I looked it up, and it was in Canada. I was like, oh, okay, this all making sense now. I said, I didn't know they had a stick shift present up there. I said, I knew a couple cars that were there, but I just never hear about them.
Yeah, there's a few, but there's not a lot. So
yeah, and don't take that the wrong way either. So.
Oh no, I know. It's all good.
Hey Chris, you're just messing with him. He's talking bad on Canada. It's you.
Yeah, I know. No, it's probably my internet, because all the Americans think that the internet goes down at midnight in Canada. So that's always the ongoing joke on the table.
Wait, you saying it doesn't?
No, yeah.
Yeah, a couple Canadian guys, they hit me up for a couple slipper devices, and one of them was a Cobra, and I can't remember what province he's in, but he's like whichever one is out far left. So he's out there.
Like BC.
The what now?
British Columbia, probably BC.
Yeah. So because I looked up where his location was. He had to go to Montana to go get the device, because I shipped it to his business there. Apparently it works like right at the border.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's out there about to. I wish I could remember his name, but he's got a Eaton Nitrous combo as well, so just a little less than what I got. But he's gonna be running it, and I hope it works out for those guys up there. Because I wish I could just like send y'all a box of them. Like, here you go, go make it great in Canada. So
yeah, show it to the other 25 stick shift racers.
hey, that's enough for a good class. Don't lie. That's enough for a really good class.
Well, in all fairness, I'm pretty much parallel with Jay, so I'm in the U.S. pretty much, right? So I'm only like an hour and a half from the border.
On the fun side.
Yeah, but I'm only an hour and a half from the border, so I get shit shipped into New York, Niagara, and pick it up there and bring it back, kind of thing.
Yeah. So what's your PB on your car right now?
998 or 997, 140.
With a 140 60 foot.
Yeah.
Oh, we can get that down.
Okay.
Let's go 1-2s, man. Come on, let's go 1-2s, dog.
I'm down. Hey, well, I'm down. We'll talk after we wrap it up. We'll shut her down now. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark, so
yeah, I was about to say with all the technical difficulties and whatnot, so we'll have some fun.
Yeah, we probably had about 25 minutes of technical difficulty, so we're probably right at that 2-hour mark. So
oh my God.
Yeah, this is the first like podcast I've ever done, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. I am not a good speaker at all. So I'll type you off a nice articulated paragraph, but don't ask me to talk in person. It just
your YouTube videos are phenomenal. Like I know you did one on the difference between like slipper clutches and diaphragm clutches, and that video was phenomenal. Like
thank you.
Yeah, if obviously everyone that's watching, I want to make sure they get over to Second Shift Racing. I don't think you've posted much on there recently, have you?
No, not recently, because I was in the middle of a job change. I was going heavy on trying to do some R&D work for the slipper device, and then which we still got a name. Like, if somebody gives me a really cool name, would be good.
Well, there you go. Drop down in the comments if anyone's got a good name for the slipper device.
Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite. Yeah,
I like the third leg. I like the third leg.
I try to get him.
I'm sure you do, Chris.
Listen. I tried to get him to let me name it third leg. He would not, and he wanted to call some. Yeah. Well, he wanted to call some like gay shit, like El Lancho. That's literally what he said.
Oh my God.
He said, why don't you call it El Lancho? I was like, no, this is like an appetizer at the Hacienda,
Yeah.
I got
ideas. Drop them.
Yeah. I got a couple picked out. I just got to make sure they're not copyrighted and stuff like that. One person wanted to call me Danny Adair from Neo Mustangs. He wanted me to call it the G Unit. I was like the rap group. So he's like,
like 50 Cent?
Yeah, he's like the rap group. He's like, yeah. He said, I mean, I don't know if it's trademarked or what. I was like, well, I'll give it a shot.
I got an idea. I got an idea. It's the name of your channel, the Second Shift Slipper.
Yeah, we can try it, and you know,
they know where it came from.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, so, and a lot of people don't know, so Second Shift Racing, the actual channel, and it's actually a group of us. So it's me, Heath, it's my buddy Greg, whose shop I'm in right now. He usually has a fast car in here, but he is actually doesn't have one at the moment. So he's looking at except for the blue one, and it doesn't run. So right now that Maximo over there will give me a run for my money. So, but yeah, so actually, it's the main guys that would keep it going. There's quite a few of us, but that are supporters. But the racers would be like me, Heath, Zach, Greg, and we go out there and we have some fun. So I was actually a part. So Heath is one of the OGs of it. And this started like 20 years ago. I mean, I wasn't even in the cars. I was probably in like kindergarten. So this is back in like early 2000s. They used to hang out at a shop after school, and the running joke was that it looks like Second Shift is rolling in. Okay, from the owner of the shop. So they started out naming the group, a race group called Second Shift Racing, which means after you get off first shift work after 5 o'clock, you go racing. So if you ever look at a logo, anyways, it red lines at 5 o'clock on the clock. So so that's how I got started. There's a lot more to the story, but that's the good summary of it. But when Zach started coming around a few years ago, he's like, man, y'all got a good thing here. He said, why don't y'all start a YouTube channel or something like that? I'm like, I never thought about it. I said, I do a lot of good little editing videos here and there, just like little home projects. I said, let me try. So we started doing it. And I remember me and Zach riding to go pick up a 99 Cobra, and we're sitting in the truck together. And I was like, this is fixing to be awkward because I'm fixing to talk to a phone and have him play along. And so so that's how it ended up happening. We started off one video, went to another video, and we got engagement. And then I was like, people like the stick shift content, man. I was like, there's not many people out there doing stick shift content. So I started covering some of our mutual friends that did stick shift, and went to the track, tried to splice some things together, make a nice little video. If you look at my photo albums, it'll say I have 400 videos on like a particular, like let's say FL2K. I say, okay, you got 400 videos. I'm going to use like 100 of those and splice them together. And probably 200 of those is me saying, is me stopping the camera and shaking my head because I know I sound stupid or I fumbled my words a bit. So I'll shoot the same clip like 9 times before I get the final one that I want. So,
I still do that sometimes. So.
Aggravates me. I was like, when I made that clutch video explaining slipper clutches and diaphragms with a slipper device and all that, like I was out there for a good minute trying to get it. I was like, I got to do this in one take, and I really got to slow down and talk about it.
It turned out perfect. So.
Oh, thank you.
I was like, this guy knows his shit, and this is a great video. So. I know
enough to pass on some knowledge. There's way smarter guys out there than me, and especially like even in my own camp. I don't know everything. I know enough, and what I know, I'll pass on to the next guy, and then they can build on top of that information, and then pass it on to the next guy. And that's just kind of the way I want to help build the community a little bit. So
that's the nice thing that you're doing is you're sharing it. You're putting it on YouTube, right? Just like this podcast. That's what it's all about. Is just getting some information and some stories out on different stick shift racers and and grow the community and keep stick shift alive, right? Oh yeah, for sure. And I'll allude to some, which I know we're a little pressed. We've been out here for a good minute talking, but so when you go to races all over the country, stick shift always gets looped into a particular event. There's always one class that's stick shift. But there's no event that's dedicated to stick shift. Yep. So I'm talking with some people right now, and we're going to try to make a quote unquote 3-day event stick shift Super Bowl, and probably a track somewhere. And what I want the location is probably going to be somewhere here in the South on the East Coast,
at a certain time of the year because one, it doesn't snow here, so we ain't got to worry about that. And you could come in February. All right, so basically from January to about April is our cool days or cold days. So, but because in the morning time, it's cold. It's like, it can be 30 degrees, in the first of the morning. But by the time you get to about 10 o'clock lunchtime, it's usually like 55 or 60 degrees here. So that gives you the DA to go out there and set records. The track is warm the track is warm, the air is cold, perfect combination. So I'm trying to work with some guys on trying to set up a stick shift Super Bowl and then break it up into classes like Diaphragm Hero, like Super Stick, Outlaw, Gasser, V-Gate, things like that.
That'd be super cool.
I like
this. So,
yeah.
And I've already had several big names, in the stick shift game as well, jump on board and say, hey, if we get this going, he says, I'll sponsor some of this event. And so I've been steady. Yep. So we've gotten backing for it, and it would be awesome to see like a dedicated stick shift racing event. And I mean, imagine 200, 250 cars on property, all got a man pedal on the floor.
Yeah.
Especially with the NMRA going away, where are all those Coyote stock guys going to go?
Yep, and that's why I'm trying to get that one ready to go to the spring break shootout over there in like 2 or 3 weeks. So I think it's on the 12th through the 15th of March. I'm gonna go out there and go play around. The air is cold right now, so if it stays cold over there, we should see a good number.
I guess we'll get her wrapped up here.
Yeah, man.
So definitely, the social media, you want to go to Second Shift Racing on YouTube.
Yeah.
See all Garrett's stuff on there. And then I guess your Facebook profile is a good spot for them to go as well.
Yeah, Garrett Leach. You can find me on Facebook. If Second Shift Racing. I mean, we're on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Instagram. So I mean, you could hit us up there. I run all this social media stuff. Like I help manage it and admin it all. So, but all the guys can see it.
Okay.
But you can just hit us up there. We stay up late, so don't feel bad about messaging late.
Yeah, I'll drop all. Yeah, you up, right?
Oh yeah, you up. Yeah. When I was talking to Tony, when Tony got the package at his shop, I was talking to him, and I was coyote hunting, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning here, and so and he's like, man, he's worried about me being up late, and I was like, no, don't worry. So I was out there coyote hunting, doing something. I said, so what you got? And so I started FaceTiming him, trying to show him like, how to set it up or how to put it in. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean it's worked out pretty good. And I mean, if guys are at the track late at the hour, just send us a message. Worst I can do is not reply to you. So just send me a message if you're at the track and you're having a clutch problem. Even if you don't have my device in your car and you have like a slipper clutch, hit us up. Like we give advice about that kind of stuff. Like we have them in a couple of our cars. So I don't have one in my car, but I completely understand the logic and the mechanics behind it, and I will give you settings or help you further along your combo. So I mean, I'm not opposed to that. So if you decide to go slipper clutch versus a diaphragm and a slipper, don't hesitate to hit us up. I mean, we like helping people like that.
That's badass.
Right on.
That's badass.
Yeah.
And then, so if they want to get your device, like, is there a waiting list right now? Like, can they get on the waiting list, or what's your suggestion to the guys, people that want to purchase it?
So I got a website in development at the moment. Got to get all that. I'm trying to get that set up because, like, right now I'm so unprepared, shamefully. But like, I did not expect like this much interest. I literally got about 200 names on the list.
Yeah,
so yeah. So like as soon as I released it on Facebook, like, hey, this is what we're working on, I had like 50 that day like that. And but yeah, just tell me you want one. Tell me the platform that it's on. I'll write all this stuff down. Okay, because I go back and I hit guys up and like, hey, I got one. And so, because once I get the CNC stuff going, I'll have all the parts, and then I can just start shoving them out the door quick.
Yeah.
You know, I try to get them out as fast as I can, but it's just the list is so long, and the supply and demand is just one outweighs the other severely right now.
Yeah.
But I will get everybody taken care of. So just hang tight with me. It takes a lot to launch a product, apparently.
Yeah. No, that's expected. So it's all new for you. So yeah, I'll drop your links in the bottom there for everyone to go check you out or send you a message. And then once you do have the website where you'll be selling them, I'll make sure to update the description with the website down below so that they can go and pick it up right through the link. So appreciate having you on, Garrett. This is awesome. Super excited. It was a privilege for me. I'm sure for Jay to have you on here.
This was very relatable.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting enough. I'm just a guy in South Alabama who plays with a stick car, man.
Well, you're interesting to me. So.
Got my respect, brother.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe and like and share and do all that shit. And we'll catch you on the next one.